thank you all for rejoining me today as we enter into part 2 of my thank yous on mentorship and friendship. In part 1, I had momentarily stopped and paused at the review of the 9 pillars of friend. I won't go over those again today. If you get a chance, listen to yesterday's part 1, and then let's continue on as I was reciting the 9 pillars of friend. And then I mentioned also towards the end of yesterday's episode that you can become a mentor without the friend parts. Also, though, you can become a friend, satisfying all 9 pillars, and then consider mentoring that friend. Meaning you can mentor someone who is not initially qualified as your friend. But resilience, the beauty of presence, process models for life, that example infrastructure qualifies you to maintain and mentor anyone. And not just anyone, however, can ever be your friend. You really cannot call or consider someone as your friend without at least addressing or considering the 9 pillars or 9 steps I've outlined for myself and sharing with you. But you can mentor anyone, and especially someone you don't even know and or who is not your friend, based on the construct of the 9 pillars of friend. So, which of those 9 pillars might apply to the mentorship process and decision? All of the 9 pillars, with a slight adjustment, apply to mentorship. And that slight adjustment is time. For mentorship and under the construct of the 9 pillars of friend, time becomes focused and constrained. For mentorship, time or focus should have a limited duration for the execution of the mentoring process. But at the conclusion of a mentoring process or program, said mentee must graduate to flying solo on their own defined desire, hunger, discipline, personal drive. The mentor has shown or demonstrated to the mentee how to fish, as an analogy. Now that mentee needs to feed himself, to fish for himself, to learn to fall to learn. On his own, if both the mentor and mentee come to a joint agreement on the progress of the process. And actually, this conversation also helps me to update the overall description of the original 9 pillars of friend, and now recently updated also to be included as the 9 pillars of amity. To mentor anyone, you should consider these metrics and set a time period on this effort. Sort of like the old IBM services structure. Back in the day, and probably still appropriate now in IBM world, to bound and define the parameters and the objective solution of the problem expressed by the mentee to the mentor. A start point actually should be mentee to the mentor to the mentee, but that's where the agreement has to be confirmed and written down. With a starting point, an end point, project serial phases, customer acceptance criteria, in-progress reviews, after-action reviews, lessons learned, best practices, all formally documented. With time constraints on mentoring in contrast to not necessarily time constraints on the 9 pillars of friend. In the mentorship side, it becomes a contract, if you will, a joint project to complete under the resilience construct. In that construct, under the resilience umbrella, if you will, the 820 resilience umbrella, is the joint courage over vanity or arrogance of all parties involved, or bringing a joint best courage and a joint least arrogance in that equation. The mentorship process should begin with the request from the mentee. But it is possible, following and staying true to the 9 measurement principles, the 9 pillars, that the mentor could initiate the relationship. But, and this is why I advocate for the engagement to proceed as I stated above, the mentorship process starting with the mentee request, because the mentoring should represent a need of and from the mentee, and not as a want or a hobby or a passing fancy of the mentee or from the mentor. Nor should a mentor view the mentoring opportunity as an ego boost or an entry into their CV or resume or their political aim. You see, the mentorship process should have some baseline structure. It's a team effort. It's on the clock. Not a competitive or comparison sport. Maybe the distinction between the application of the 9 pillars of friend versus the 9 pillars applied to the mentorship is more of a specified and written construct or contract, with time as a defining difference. Now, I'm going to get into this taking a long time to get to this point. As I mentioned in part 1, I've been meaning to do this for months, probably years, to offer my thank yous to folks that I didn't recognize as my key mentors in my upbringing and even in my currently adult upbringing. So I didn't think I would need, or back up, I didn't know or observe I would need this much time to say a simple thank you. But there's so many people on this list, I want to get to them. I might forget 1 or 2, but at least this is my first entry or volley into delivering thank yous to those who made this happen. They were instrumental in me being here. So, again, although it's important to me to deliver the fullness of this message on mentorship and thanking people for that work, we're getting towards the end of this episode today. So thank you for considering this, but put another pause here. We'll come back with now part 3 of the conversation, and hopefully I can conclude this statement of thanking those who were and are still key to even me being here, what I have, quote unquote, achieved, but now I'm still building on. I want to express that thank you to them, to myself, to my creator, and then to you out there. Until then, stay present, stay current. Wherever you are in this world, please remember, it's always 820.